Hello all. Thought I'd make a video on how I like to install Arch Linux, either through VirtualBox or on my computer here, which is a desktop tower computer, and with of course a few exceptions. And so the first exception would be in a VirtualBox. I like to make the screen approximately 1024 by 768. So from the first option there, just press Tab and then a space. Hopefully I can zoom in. There we go. And I type VGA equals 791. Any of you that's watched this channel before probably knows I do this. In any case, after you're done, just press enter, and you can see the screen is larger. Now I get to the the prompt, the Arch ISO prompt, not the login. I'm sorry. Is I do this quite often is set font. And this is just so I can see things better. So set font ISO 02-12 by 22. And for me, that's better to look at. That's completely optional, but I always do that. And I clear the screen. And at this point, I check if I have wireless internet working, because that's all I have on my system. I don't have access to LAN cable connection, so I would type in Wi-Fi -menu, and in this case it'll spit out an error, say, because I'm in VirtualBox. But lucky for me, my card is pretty much a legacy card by now, and it's very well supported. So all I have to do is type in Wi-Fi -menu, find my network, and then fill in my security password, and it's off and ready to run. So after that, I just do a pacman -SYY to sync the mirror list. Once that's finished, I like to pull down a couple of packages that I use quite often. So I just arrow key up one, and I get reflector, and I also get git or jit, and let those download and install. Once they're downloaded, it's on to grabbing packages that I've compiled and uploaded to GitHub. Apologies, I'll just intermix. I'll change GitHub to GitHub or whatever. Just ignore me on that. So with Git installed, or Git, here we go again. I just do a git. How's that? Clone, and then HTTPs. Let me try to zoom in a bit more. Slashes git hub .com. I'm usually not this slow at typing. It's just because I'm recording and trying to pay attention. So in any case, my username and the name of the package I want is called pre_arch. And it's a very small package. You can ls and you see it's there. Next is I chmod +x, the pre_arch, and a little script called mirrors. And I can actually nano that. You can take a look. That's all it is. It's a bin bash file, sudo reflector, country, file list 6, age 24 hours, and then save it to the mirror list in pacman.d directory. So clear the screen, go back to the top. So I just run that pre_arch mirrors, and that will go out and get the latest mirrors list for my area and sort them as I instructed it to, and you see the command as well there. Now I use fdisk to create the partition table, and it's going to be DOS based. That's what I'm used to, and that's what my computer is. Legacy BIOS, not UEFI or anything like that. So I keep it very simple, and people have asked why don't I use a swap file. The Arch Wiki, recommends if you have less than maybe 1 or 2 gigabytes, then a swap file, or in the case you want to use the hibernate feature. But I never use those. and my system has 12 gigabytes, and the the VirtualBox machine is not. It doesn't really matter, and I have already allocated it to 4 gigabytes anyway. So, and I don't use a home folder or anything like that. Just everything on one drive, partition. That's because I have a solid state drive, and it's Arch has 50 gigabytes to work with, so it's not really that big in terms of modern day hard drives. And so I try to keep things very simple. So with that said, I just do an F disk. Now in this case there's only one drive, so I'll do an F disk list-dev SDA just for the record, and it shows you here it's 8 gigabytes and nothing's on there yet. Okay. On my computer it's a SDB, so I usually list that out just to make sure that it's empty, and I use HD parameter commands to secure erase the solid state drive every single time I install a Linux distribution on that drive. So fdisk again /dev SDA, and here created a new DOS label. Okay, I don't create a label per se. Like I said, it's only one. It's only root. So from here I just type N for new, and I just keep pressing enter. Primary, default partition 1, and the first and last sectors are all at default, and the last key is to write, and it says partition table has been altered, and then the input out control to reread partition table syncing disks. Alright, so just in case, as I do the list again of the device I'm going to use, and you can see now it's has a device SDA. So from there I just make the file system extension 4 on that DEV SDA1. It's very quick in a VirtualBox, only 8 gigs. On my system it takes quite a bit longer to allocate the file system. So once that's finished, I just mount that partition SDA1 to the pre-allocated MNT, and it's mounted, and I'll just ls for list /MNT, and there's just lost and found. Okay, and from there I just do a packstrap with no arguments, just MNT, and then the base -devel, which includes your sudo and packages for compiling stuff from the Arch Linux user repository, either using like yowart or just downloading and manually doing the package build. So this usually takes a little while, so just walk away for a few minutes and let that finish. So I'll be back when this is done. So moving on, you see it gives you a nice little summary. Packstrap at the bottom here, it says packstrap, what I asked it to do, to mount, and basically the time, and the internet's kind of slow for me today, so it took longer than usual, even though you wouldn't notice that. Alright, I do have another hard drive, mechanical hard drive, that I also mount during the installation, just right at this part. It's an SDE2, so I include that. I mount it to a directory called data on the root partition, and then run my file system table commands. But since I don't have that obviously here, I'm just going to make it simple. However, just before that, I had copy cp -r that pre-arch thing I downloaded from GitHub to /MNT, and that's it. And then generate the file system table again. Very simple, no labeling or anything, just by device. So it's genfs tab /mount 2 arrows out to /MNT, right? Because that's where Arch is now installed on the mounted device, SDA1. to Etsy's, right? FS tab. And you just arrow key up 1 and CAT, and you see what it's done. And that looks fine to me. And so we just arch, just type arch, then press tab, and then say complete the chroot chroot to /mnt. And now we're in the live Arch Linux installed environment. And you can do list out, and you see there's Arch Linux installed for the most part. So before I go on and do more stuff from the pre-Arch packages I downloaded, make sure you do the root password. And the boring stuff such as nano, Etsy, Locale, .gen, VirtualBox is page down 6 times, and delete for those 2. Control O, zoom out to write out. Control X to quit. Clear the screen, and then Locale -gen. An extra step I like to do is Locale out to /Etsy locale.conf, and that sets everything up for you very nicely by CAT. Oh boy, there we go. Okay. So password locale gen editor equals capital letters editor equals nano VISUDO, the sudoers file, and just page down. I just keep pressing page down. I go to the %wheel equals all no password, uncomment that out, and then Control O to write it out, Control X to quit. And since I'm in VirtualBox, I have to do a Systemctl enable DHCPCD, so I have internet when I restart the computer. And host name, I always give this a host name. On VirtualBox, I just keep it basically vbox out to host, and you have to actually type the full name in host name. And if you want, you can, same idea, CAT, and there it is, vbox. I also edit the host file, so nano Etsy hosts with an S at the end. It says 127.0.0.1. I take out the local host and I put in the name of the machine, which is vbox. And same with this local host at the end, vbox. And then save and exit. The reason I do that is because I use Firefox quite a bit, and for some reason, if it's just localhost, it takes a lot longer to launch. I'm not sure why that happens, but it seems to help. Let's take a look at the pre-arch, what's in there. So ls/free_arch. There's a file I made, base, has nothing to do with Arch Linux base. Okay, I just call it that. It's just arbitrary name. So base, and that's another bin bash file. Base_vbox is to install the guest additions and set up the parameters for when I reboot. They're there. Bash root is just a bash script for root. Chroot post is another one, as you can see. And if I do an ls-la, there's one extra .bashrc, which is for me, my personal bash script. So before that, before I run anything else, I have to chmod the user add, which includes my name. So if I just nano that, you'll see pre-arch user add, and it's user add mg and all this stuff. This might be outdated by now, but whatever. And then my username. Okay. And I didn't even include a bin bash. It'll just run as soon as I make it executable. So chmod plus x /free_arch user add. and just delete up to there and press enter, and password for my user. And if the script failed, it would say, no user found, no such user. Once that's done, chmod +x pre-arch, and you know what I should do before that? Let me nano out that. What I'm going to change is chroot post. Bin bash again. It downloads reflector again because now we're in the installed environment. rsync git mlocate. I got to have them using that from Ubuntu. It might not be the best thing on a solid state drive, but I just find using locate easy for me. Bash completion is next. Wireless tools. Even though this is in VirtualBox, I don't need them. They don't take up that much room. And WPA supplement, and very important one to get is dialog, because you won't have any function if you're using wireless. And then you can see what it does. It updates the database from mlocate and chmod the base, and it moves files, and again makes certain files executable and moved to different directories on the system. And touch vconsole.conf, and then echo what I just typed near at the beginning, the ISO font. So font equals ISO 02-12 by 22 out to etc vconsole. Alright, so let's get out of that and just chmod +x pre-arch chroot post. And now I just run it, and all those commands will just run. And I put a no confirm at the end of that, so it won't even ask me anything. I just let it download and install the packages that I asked and move the files to various places that I asked it to. Now we run that, list out the ls. Let's do list all that pre-arch. Lots of files have been moved. The .bash is gone, the root bash is gone, the mirrors and the UpGrub strip, they're all moved and made executable if need be. So next up is just base has already been made executable. So that's the next thing I run is pre-arch base. And here's the difference between VirtualBox and my system. In VirtualBox, I just need the Mesa libgl, that's fine. And then on my system, I'm using a GTX 970, so I would choose option 4, NVIDIA libgl. But in this case, the default number is 1, so I just press enter. And that downloads a whole bunch of Zorg stuff, and ALSA, and fonts, and so on. So I'll give that a minute to download and install. Once that's finished, I have to chmod the other base installation, because this is VirtualBox. That's why I leave it not executable, because on my main system I don't need VirtualBox of anything. I mean the VirtualBox guest utils. So chmod +x / pre-arch base _ vbox. And you want to look at that. I'll just nano. Yeah, W. Okay. And another bin bash script. Pacman to get VirtualBox guest utils does a dep mode -a dep mod. A mod probe of the VirtualBox guest SF and video, and a string to output it to etc modules load.d / virtualbox.conf. Systemctl enable vbox service. Sometimes that fails. Actually, most of the times it fails because of the kernel, but it seems to work after a reboot. But you will see that it's failed. So let's just run that command. And I'm prompted this time, so press enter for yes. And it's mod probing, and yeah, it says error. So it's okay, it's fine. Those errors are, you can ignore them. So I think that should cover that part of the pre-arch install scripts. So what I do is just rm, because I don't need them anymore, / pre_arch. Alright, and from there, pacman dash capital S grub. Now if I'm using my main system, I also get os-prober. No harm in downloading it. It's not going to find anything else because there's no other system in VirtualBox here, but just for the record to download that. So we're nearing the end of this. You're probably saying, thank God. We just, I run the mkinit cpio -linux -p Linux, and you will always see that possible warning firmware. You can always, so far up until now, all the time I've been using Arch Linux, it's harmless. So once that's generated, you just I just run grub -install, and on my main system you'd be device SDB, but of course there is no SDB, so it's just going to default to SDA. Remember, there's no 1 or 2 after that, because, or 3 or 4, because it has to be on the root of the drive. Alright, so if you have Windows on SDA and you do boot with Arch, Grub will install onto that Windows drive. Alright, so beware of that. That's why I always like to have a separate hard drive, so Grub is installed on its own hard drive, because I find if you have to reinstall, it's too much of a hassle with the crazy Windows boot rec commands. Sometimes they work, and you have to run another NTFS something command. I can't remember. I'm sorry. It's on the internet. You can look it up, but it's just a raw pain basically. So I just installed Grub, and we're happy. And now it's installed, I do edit nano at the default Grub, and I do this on my computer as well, where it has a Grub graphics mode, or abbreviated graphics mode, 1024 by, you guessed it, 768. Write out and exit. And instead of typing that grub-mkconfig-o/boot/grub-grub blah blah blah, I just another script called up-grub, and that's it. Obviously there's no other system, so os-prober is not going to find anything. And I don't use LVM. I wish there was a way to tell Arch not to download that. Maybe there is, I don't know. But I don't use logical volume units of any kind right now because of the way my hard drive system is set up. I don't need it. So that's it. So I just type in exit, umount -mnt and a dash capital R. And since I'm in VirtualBox, I just type in power off because I want to remove the virtual ISO. So I'll be back rebooted into Arch Linux. So here we are. Arch Linux is installed for the most part. Obviously there's no graphical interface or anything, but you can soon fix that. So I logged in as root because there's one more repository I want to get. It's so git clone again, and that crazy address .com, my username, and the packages are arch_extras. And chmod plus X. Again, if you use these kind of things, you can call them anything you want. It doesn't matter, just as long as the functions are working. And trial and error, usually best to do in VirtualBox for obvious reasons. So chmod plus X arch_extras /ins, short form for install. And I'll just arrow key up one and let it do its thing. And you can see here what will happen is now it's going to have color and that little Pac-Man going along, and it also has multi-lib enabled as well as the Arch Linux FR repository, and it's going to ask me to install Yoward. and you see rsync is already installed from the pre-arch installation. I do have extra files in here, 10 disable rules, suspend, and 10 driver rules, which are for, the first one is for disable suspend, I don't use it, and the 10 driver rules is .rules, is for NTFS Windows partition, so when I click on any Windows drive, it doesn't ask for a password. That's basically it. The make package.config and the pacman config are what you saw. The pacman config is what you saw with the colors and the modified configuration file. Make package config is for enabling you to compile packages faster through manipulating the architecture and into RAM and another parameter. But I don't move or copy the 10 rules files until after a desktop environment is installed. So let me nano INS so you can take a look what it's there. You can also take a look on GitHub if you want. So bin bash copy pacman.config to a backup. You never know. And then copy the modified config to the etc directory, and same thing with the make package, and then resyncs the mirrors, and then asks to install YowArts, sorry, and that's it. So all I have to do is exit and log in as my user. And you see it has the color bash prompt. It has my scripts like psync for synchronize the mirror list, pacu to update, PAC just to install a program, and so on and so on and so on. And ls-la. Not much on here, just the bash rc stuff. And from here I can install whatever I want. And as I said, I'm using GitHub much more these days, and I'm finding that there's a lot of packages that are common amongst installing any desktop. There's so many I can't remember, but they are common things you probably want to have. Off the top of my head, if you're using wireless, Network Manager is probably an easier way of just dealing with wireless, and I'm glad it's there because it makes things much easier, especially if your card is supported right out of the box, so to speak. So for example, I would call out, I usually use XFCE, so I would call my script to install XFCE and have my configuration files saved, and I copy them over, and when I reboot I pretty much have what you see here on my desktop, with the exception of the wallpaper. Just a few more things I'd like to mention. I'm going to move on into the XFCE desktop I just installed. Is confusion over the .xin and rc. If you don't have a display manager, you can copy it from this directory, x11 xe, x11 xinit rc, xinit rc to .xinit rc, and you just nano that .xinit rc. You go down, there's a few more arguments than there used to be, or commands, but just above the TWM, the basic window tiling manager, you just type in exec start your window manager, but it's going to be one word here, start XFCE 4, I think. But in any case, I'm not going to use that, so Control X and answer no to changes. So if I type in start X now, it's going to give me the TWM window, the basic tiling window manager from Zork. So shortcut alias Q to quit, and I get out of there. Another thing is I'm going to remove that So rm.xinit.rc. In the case of start XFCE, you can just run that start, one word, XFCE 4. And there's the desktop, as I had mentioned, with the theme and everything set up with the same programs and stuff I have on my regular desktop, of course. So F4, and we log out. But since I have LXDM enabled through Systemctl, when I reboot, LXDM is going to kick in. So I'm just going to type in reboot and log in using LXDM after picking, what to do with your Arch Linux if you want to use a safe mode or something. So just log in. Now you see here what's happened is 1024 is gone. And there's a couple of things you can do. First of all, I've manipulated the XF session to not save a session for future logins. And I also run another command. But first of all, let's go to this. For some reason, it's probably VirtualBox. Let's go to display, and if I select here the resolution 1024 by 768, click apply, it will go to that, but it won't retain that upon a reboot. So two things you can try: rm-r, and this is helpful if you're trying to, manipulate files, because it also clears out the XFCE4 session. But upon reboot, so Alt F4 and Alt R, it probably won't retain the setting. As you can see, it's gone back. So again, we'll run that display, and this is why I think it's VirtualBox. So I'll change back to 1024 by 68, click apply, close, and this time I'm just going to do a shutdown and restart the VirtualBox. Alright, it's still not working. Try that again. rm-r cache. Oh, I should have left that open. Just power off, and we'll see what happens. Alright, it's still not retaining that. It's really temperamental. Display, apply, close, another power off. Okay, so it works. Now we're at 1024, so you can see what I did. It's just trial and error, and we'll go to display, and you see now it is at 1024 by 768. So it's a combination of not saving the session, clearing the cache, powering off, resetting the resolution, clearing the cache, power off, and eventually it will maintain that. I don't know if that's a VirtualBox bug or a feature, I'm not sure, but it eventually does work if you're persistent with it. Short of that, if it's really not working and trying all those, is restart your main system. Who knows, maybe some residual VirtualBox temp file that's hanging around and causing problems. So that should wrap up this video. As I mentioned before, feel free to use the JIT repositories. I'll put links again. You can do anything you want with them and experiment in VirtualBox. It's not, like I said, it's not set in stone. It's only software, especially in VirtualBox. If something goes wrong, it's no big deal. You just trial and error, experiment, and you can get things working the way you want to, basically. But just to make it a little easier, I know it seems like a long process through this video, but for me it's very quick to get Arch Linux and a desktop environment up and running. It's very quick using the GitHub scripts I created for myself, but you can create your own. It's very, very simple. Okay, so that's it for this one, and thank you so much for watching. And if you made it so far, you get a medal. And Take care, everyone, and we'll talk to you soon. And bye for now.